We move to our big three stories of the day because there's a lot of news happening both locally and nationally that we need to address. We'll start nationally. Good news on the labor market front. According to the payroll processing firm ADP, private sector jobs surging by about 500,000 in June, the biggest monthly rise in about a year. In some ways, though, this may not be great news for those hoping to not see another interest rate hike. We'll look into what that means in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, and some of the big industries, though, that are really getting a pat on the back: leisure and hospitality. Meanwhile, we're talking about heat and severe storms across the U.S. From coast to coast, more than 100 million people looking at temperatures above 90 degrees. You saw Dakota saying that we were almost there today. We're going to talk more about weather coming up. And Wabtec, the latest on the developments there.
A lot going on here and in Pittsburgh with some of the union members who are protesting in our region heading down to Pittsburgh today to protest outside Wabtec headquarters, where negotiations have resumed. Remember, we're now 2 weeks in to the local strike. Yeah,
so there was that twist as in front of the Lawrence Park plant, there are picketers out there tonight, but there's also dozens of union members from UE 506 and UE 618 in the Steel City tonight, and that is where we find our Philip Ward.
Philip, what's been going on throughout the day? And I know it's not just union members, they're getting some support from some big names as well.
Ethan, you got that right. We've seen political leaders that are here. We've seen labor leaders that are here. They've all spoken to these workers that have made the trip down here to Pittsburgh from Erie. But as we've heard, when the negotiations started today, well, they're already wrapped up. The Wabtec, the company, saying that we're going to take these proposals from the unions into consideration. But as of right now, on key issues, Ethan and Neva, they're still very far apart. Now check this out, though, because that has not stopped workers from UE Locals 506 and 618 from stepping down here to the Steel City and making their voices heard. We had a very powerful moment that we saw earlier today where there's actually Wabtec workers that were up above in the glass building, the corporate headquarters behind us here, sort of looking down and seeing what the workers were doing. It was sort of a showing of, hey, we want our voices to be heard, but we also want the visuals, the optics of it. We want you to see that we're down here. We also spoke locally with State Representative Pat Harkins, who made the trip down here. Show you what he said coming up a little later on, as well as Pennsylvania's AFL CIO, Angela Ferrito. So that means that this issue isn't just locally important to us in Erie, but it's also a state thing as well. We already heard Governor Josh Shapiro has voiced his support for these workers here. Senators Bob Casey as well as John Fetterman. There's a lot of support, Ethan and Eva, for these workers, and we're really just going to have to wait and see. Remember, those negotiations are going to start back up next Tuesday. But here in Pittsburgh, though, chanting, singing, picketing, and it's blazing hot, Ethan and Eva. I know it's not the way back there in Erie, but we'll be on our way back soon. Ethan and Eva from Pittsburgh, Philip Ward, Erie News Now.
All right.